Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the cinemetropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film, and this year's official podcast media partner for the dCFF 2021 Film Festival. Today, we are looking at Feel So Good. The film is having its world premiere at the dCFF 2021 Film Festival on Friday, June 11th at the Oklahoma Museum of Art at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. It will also be available as part of the dCFF 2021 Virtual Film Festival starting on Saturday, June 12th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So the film is described as a desperate hypnotist uses a young woman to unknowingly perform crimes, leaving her with strained relationships and fragmented memories. So to learn more about what inspired the film's ambitious premise and how it juggles the sci-fi concept with the core characters and themes, I'm very excited to welcome a round table of filmmakers behind this gem of a film that'll be making a splash at this year's festivals. So first up, I'm going to start with the Feel So Good writer, director, producer, Ben Tefera. Barry, welcome to the Cinematic Schematic.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Super excited. Yeah, and it's Ben Tefera, but like everybody calls me Barry, and I'm always with another Ben, so it just becomes easier to delineate like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Noted listeners. So Ben Tefera, and also calling out the other Ben here. I'm excited to introduce the film's cinematographer, producer, and editor, Ben Stillwell White. Ben Stillwell White, welcome to the Cinematic Schematic.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And while I do have an editing credit on the film, it's definitely been a three-way partnership between myself, the director Ben, and then Slyrex, who did all of our sounds for the film.
Excellent. Well, speaking of Slyrex, he was also the composer, sound designer, producer, and editor of Feel So Good. Slyrex, welcome to the Cinematic Schematic.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Very exciting.
Wonderful. And last, but certainly not least, we're super excited to welcome the star of Feel So Good, Grayson Dunn. Grayson, welcome to the Cinematic Schematic.
Yep, just a lowly actor. Just one credit. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Star of the film, man. You gotta own that.
He's on the poster.
He's on the
poster. Doesn't get more official than that.
Yeah, definitely earned his way onto the poster too. He said only one job as an actor, but this is an Oklahoma-based production. Our main actor was living in Florida at the time. So he was driving back and forth or flying back and forth for different shoot days. So definitely don't want to undersell his contribution to the film. Aside from putting his beautiful face just all over it. So
making a splash at the Oklahoma Museum of Art. This is really one of the big narrative feature films. I'm really excited to dive into it. Now, I did just read a short blurb about the premise, but it sounds like there may be a little more than meets the eye to the story of Feel So Good. What else can you all tell me about Feel So Good's setup?
I would say in very broad strokes, it's a story about young people, and it's a broad narrative. There are a lot of characters, many locations, very musical, a little psychedelic. There's it's categorized as a thriller, which I think it very much holds up the thriller name, but it's definitely, I think modern movies and especially younger movies tend to have a little more genre blending and stuff. So we don't really quite know what to call this movie. There definitely is a little more than meets the eye for sure. But hopefully it's just a good experience. And I think people will get something out of it for sure.
Yeah. And additionally, I go further to say it's definitely the overarching quality is probably most similar to a thriller. But there's definitely pockets of the film that almost play like montage. There's parts of the film that almost play like day in the life. So I think that the key was that it all came from a really organic and unified vision, which was the script that Barry wrote last year after we debuted the short at Feel So Good at dCFF. And so as a product of just following that vision and, being a part of the smorgasbord of random shit that the zeitgeist has become. This film has really become a lot of things too. But yeah, above all, I say the simplest way to categorize is I'd say a thriller. It's closest to a thriller.
Yeah. The feature film version that is debuting at dCFF this year was actually, there was a short film version or a shorter form version of this in the festival last year. So I don't know, Ben, if you want to tell us a little about the short film, what your experience was like last year, and how you decided to approach really taking that short film and blowing it up into a feature.
Well, the short film came together really, really quick and definitely under duress a little bit. We made it in a couple days with just no hands. It was just actually just literally us right here. Scheduling conflicts, the freak snowstorm, all that basically just wrecked the production. And we came out with the short film. We didn't love it. We didn't think it represented what we could do, but we're like, let's send it off, just see what happens. Luckily, thankfully, got into dCFF21. It actually won some small awards at other festivals and stuff, which was very cool. And, naturally for people who make a $0 short film that gets into like one or a couple festivals, you get emboldened and like, okay, let's try making a feature next. That seems like the next logical step. So that's what we dove into immediately after. And it's a similar premise, different characters. Like the short film was following two young men, and the feature predominantly follows a young woman and this young man. So yeah, it's a similar story, but definitely a lot bigger, a lot more fleshed out, and I think definitely a lot more relevant too, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely the product of the process of making it rather was it's super consistent with like our methodology, which is very DIY. Like we do music videos and projects and lots of outsourced work.
Multicam shows, freelance work.
Shows, internet stuff, and live events, all kinds of things. So we've had a collective that's been operating for like 2 years now, and everything we do it ourselves, and we even in the process of making the feature, like we got all the equipment, and we so we could own our means of production and like make this for like literally as close to $0 as humanly possible. So the short film was a product of that. The feature was a product of that.
Yeah, and I like that Sly used the term emboldened, because it was one of the first. I mean, like, we've been making stuff in a vacuum for a long time, and we get we like interacting with people online and stuff. But the short film Feel So Good, like the shorter version, definitely was one of the first times where we got that sort of like outside validation, where like a festival, like dCFF21 was like, hey, this is good. Like, let us program this. And I think that and like Sly said, really just emboldened us to to want to expand upon it.
Yeah, because that's establishment. Like we do music and music videos and shows and skits like that and stuff. So it's like that's really direct to consumer shit. Like we feel very connected to our audience and like to the people. But it was a different type of validation. Like whenever there's something that's like quote unquote at the establishment is like, oh, okay, like we recognize this, and it's like, hey, if it wasn't too weird, like if it was palatable and like you liked it, then like let's try our hand at the real deal. Like, especially since that was gonna be something that happened regardless. It was like, oh, there's COVID. It was like kind of this perfect storm of like, if we move right now and don't think too hard about it, we can actually make this happen.
I was gonna say, you mentioned COVID-19 being a factor here. I think just following that train of thought, like, hey, COVID-19 is a factor. Let's not think about it. Like, how exactly did sort of the COVID-19 and sort of the temperament of what we experienced last year in 2020, how did that sort of shape the film's production?
Yeah. Well, real quick, just to clarify the "don't think about it" comment, because I realize how those things sounded in conjunction. The don't think about it was definitely more like, don't think too hard about the mountain of shit that we got to take care of. Like, just do our best to like outline our tasks and then like deal with it. COVID, we thought a lot about.
We took COVID-19 extremely seriously. We used a tiny crew every day. We followed pretty much all of the SAG guidelines at the time as they existed, and also we had 0 positive cases as a result, and so we were very proud of that. And definitely one of the things that gave us the most headaches on set.
Yeah. And I think the 0 COVID cases is like, we're super proud of that stat, because this was not a traditional production by any means. Because like whenever we started was like right in June of last year. Immediately after that, we got we started that summer. So several of us were students. I'm actually still in college right now. But we're actively students, have part-time jobs, full-time jobs, and now we have this global pandemic to throw on top of that. So the schedule we made was super disjointed because, there's no possible stretch where we can get everyone available for 15 consecutive days to like make a movie. So we had to do a total of 19 shoot days spread across like 3.5 months, which was super difficult. Took a ton of coordination between like us right here, just a million trillion different Google Docs and a lot of PPE, a lot of just a Burger King. I don't know. We had
a lot of Burger King.
No outside producers. No outside funding. Like, I mean, it's literally like
it was all self-generated.
It was completely done in-house. Like, and so that gave us the freedom that was necessary to even be able to make a movie at this price point, much less like in the climate, with the safety concerns that there were like with COVID and shit. So it was really like, unless we have like complete control here, we probably can't do this, or we can't do it the way we want to do it. Especially because, like he mentioned at the top of the interview, like Barry did, it's a big movie. Like this is like probably the exact opposite of what they would recommend you do for your first feature.
Absolutely.
In terms of like scope, there's like
over 22 distinct locations. I know that. I think there's like, is it like 15 speaking speaking actors?
15 speaking characters, and then like 5 of them are like prominent characters.
Mm-hmm.
There's not even like the main character is Valentine, but like Moon, who's played by Danielle Elise Smith, is like also competitive like for a main character, and there's a couple of people in that like stratosphere that are really close too. So it's a big project with lots of characters, lots of locations, very big swings. Like it's a super non-traditional like premise. Like in terms like I've never seen a hypnotist movie or like there's not one like that. At least not one recently. So it was we knew that if we couldn't like control everything, then there was no way this was going to get done anyway. That was cool.
And in addition to that, we needed that control, and also what we needed and what we ended up having was just everyone involved was just great, because everyone involved was taking the virus seriously. We didn't have people on set, who we knew had been out partying or something. It was just like, everyone involved, even though it was, a multi-month shoot, just kind of scattered shoot days. Everyone really kind of understood like what was going to have to happen for it to even finish. And so, we owe, and we're just immensely grateful to pretty much everyone who came out and just took that seriously, took us seriously. And just helped make it a reality.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and again, hats off to you guys. I mean, making a movie during a pandemic is no small feat. And it sounds like, you guys took all the right safety precautions and just by keeping it small and kind of working on weekends. I do want to actually, Grayson, turn it over to you here for a minute. So, I mean, it sounds like these guys all worked on a short film together. Were you a part of the short film in any way?
I was an actor in the short film.
Yeah.
So was there like a difference in the type of role? Like, how did your role differ in this film versus the short film?
It's the exact opposite. It's a tremendous difference. Playing the antagonist in this film versus the short film being, I would say, a bystander in some ways, and being a victim.
Yeah, definitely a victim. He's probably still the main character of the short film too.
Yeah, I would think so.
The roles were definitely reversed. Did you have more fun playing this version or that version?
I had more fun playing this version. And there was just more to work with, and I think we just had a better collaboration on this film.
Sure.
So
hell yeah. The short film was like, we didn't even really touch on the process of. I mean, we kind of did. It was a nightmare. Yeah,
it was crazy.
That's the best way you can say it. It was a nightmare. It was a couple-day nightmare, and now this was a different kind of nightmare,
and
a better nightmare.
A better nightmare.
And I just want to tout, like Grayson, he's a very humble guy, but the way he transitioned, like our short film was actually like, I think his first time out acting, like in anything.
Yes.
And he played a character named Omi, and he was the one who was hypnotized. And then watching him transition from that into the main character and primary antagonist, I don't even want to give it that label, into the role he has in the feature was just, it was a treat to watch, just to kind of see him develop right in front of us. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it sounds super cool, like, because you guys already have like a crew you working with, and it's almost like you got to, like, after you did the short film, it sounds like you guys got like the sort of feedback you were looking for from audiences and festivals. I mean, how did you take that sort of like feedback or like input from audiences on the festivals on the short film and apply it here to the feature length version? Did that in any way impact? Maybe you guys are dedicated to your own vision. Like, what are your thoughts?
I mean, definitely being like some like to consider ourselves auteur brats a little bit. We definitely keep the vision pure. But I mean, maybe at a less like X's and O's level, like just hearing and seeing and experiencing people react to something that you make. Like even if you don't take the specifics of what they're saying into literal consideration, like the overall effect, like the broad strokes, like they definitely come through, And it's like as artists, maybe that's part of the entire like ambition of an artist is to have people respond to your work, or is just to simply create. So I think it was more the fact that we were able to get reactions to our stuff on like the scale that we were able to, that absolutely influenced wanting to make a movie. Like then for the first time, I'm not thinking about whatever weird random art house shit I want to write. I'm like, yo, what would be like a cool theater experience too? And like, a little facetious because I very much value the theater experience. I always want to make that a fantastic thing. But yeah, just seeing people is like, it's hard to put words to it. Like just seeing people react to your stuff, whether it's positive or negative, like it's just it is a bizarre and very influential experience, I think, even at a subconscious level.
And I think that we were insulated by COVID just from, being able to go to even just like dCenter, and kind of get to, chop it up with people about it. I think, what feedback we did get was not expansive. Yeah. I think, like we didn't get a whole lot of, like, hey, it was great, but X, Y, Z, I think Barry's right. Like people responded and that was pretty much good enough for us, that it elicited something.
Yeah. We got more that's interesting.
Yeah.
That was cool than
got a lot of,
else, which is what we expected. Like when we were turning it in, we didn't expect it to do shit because like, it just wasn't. Yeah. Like we're like, that it was what we could have done at the time, given our circumstances. And then everything after that was just like kind of wanting to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As well.
So one thing Ben mentioned a second ago was just the number of locations and actors that were part of this production, so that the size and the scope is a lot larger. I mean, this being, one of this year's festival's major Oklahoma narrative feature releases, I mean, could you guys elaborate a little bit more maybe on how the film utilizes Oklahoma as a location?
100% of the film was shot in Oklahoma. Most of it was shot in between just Norman, where we live, and then OKC, where he lives. I guess we didn't get into the specifics of like Oklahoma itself. Like I don't think you'll actually hear the word Oklahoma be like named because especially like in like at the script level, we like to keep our stories that we tell just a little insular, like slightly shielded from like reality, or at least for this one. So Oklahoma's not named explicitly, but you will see quite a bit of Oklahoma throughout the film. Like
and like when you watch the film, you know what I'm saying? Like whether or not you have any knowledge of the location, like the energy of the city is real in the film. Like, and it has an influence on the pace and the characters and their relationships to one another. So like, and that's like a direct response to the fact that we're photographing Oklahoma in the picture. And like you said, it's 100% Oklahoma locations, top to bottom. So the energy that you feel from the city, which like, I don't want to just get into it too much, but just like a simple way to just say it is that sometimes it feels it seems like it sits right at the cusp of something rural and something urban. It seems like it's right at the cusp of unknown versus like something that was like history or discovery. And sometimes it sits right at the cusp of silent and slow and then like, fast paced and like alive. Mm-hmm. And I think like all of that had an effect on the pace and the feeling like in the movie and between the characters.
And even just from a purely logistical standpoint, some of us having grown up all or in part in Oklahoma City and the surrounding areas, we were able to leverage, just some, like some contacts and just like relationships that we formed throughout our lives to say, hey, we're making this movie. It would mean a lot if we could just come and shoot in your restaurant for a few hours, if we could, like get upstairs at your bar, and just be there for a few hours shooting. And so just that, I think, really helped us up the production value. And like they were just saying, kind of just gave the location itself a bit of a soul.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And like, obviously, if we're not in Oklahoma, we can't make the movie like at the scale that we're making it just because, like we're from here and we know people out here and stuff. So, in that regard, it's very Oklahoma. And in a very also equal sense, most of it is also not most of it, but there are many of the locations are just like houses. We use the house that we're sitting in probably for like 3 or 4 different locations at least, but like people won't recognize them for sure. Yeah. So there's a lot of our friends' apartments, friends' houses, parents' houses.
Like you said, a couple local businesses, like a couple local restaurants. Queen of Sheba is a location that gets utilized in Oklahoma City, and Stella
Midtown,
Midtown.
Very cool.
So yeah, there's some local businesses that end up in there. There's more. I know it, but I'm not thinking.
We'll remember that.
We got to shoot some stuff at Heritage Hall.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
On OU campus, like Campus Corner and stuff.
Some stuff. If you're in Oklahoma, you'll definitely recognize at least some of the shots. Like there'll be a couple of shots where you're like, oh, I know exactly where they are right now.
Well, I mean, I think it's just another really great example of, our community really supporting filmmakers. The fact that you guys have established networks and you can reach out to business owners or businesses, to varying degrees and say, hey, we have this really cool story idea. Can we use your location? And that, business owner being open to that without charging, an arm or a leg. It seems like we have a really supportive community here in Oklahoma City for, homegrown filmmakers like yourselves.
Yes. And we got some Oklahoma talent too. I don't know how this slipped my mind. Like most of the actors are from Oklahoma. Like you said, Grayson came in from Florida, and then there's a couple other actors that came in from like Texas and such. But like, there's a lot of Oklahoma people in this movie that we were really happy to get them in. Like like some musicians like Paris Cariz and Grand National. I don't know if you like Elise. Like they're all in the movie. And that's a part of it that I didn't want to sleep on, because I was really happy that we got to do it like that, because we come from, well, at least I come from music, and like he's been doing videos with me for like the last 10 years, last couple of years. So like it was really cool to get to like involve some people as a part of that are part of different disciplines, and like some Tisha has like her like boutique and stuff like that.
Whenever you say 10 years, it makes it sound really old. Like, I'm 23, so we've just been doing this since kids.
Hey, start young, man. Start refining that craft early. Slyrex, you mentioned you coming in more on the music side of it. I mean, like, what was your experience like composing the score for this feature versus a short film? I imagine it's quite a bit more work.
It's way more work. Yeah, the good thing, like the benefit is, the drawback and the benefit both are that like it's only us, so like we have to do every task. So I was never in the dark about like, intention or like what was happening or location. Like I was there every day on set too. So like there were pieces that were developed like as early as when the script was written, and then there's pieces that we made last night and added to the movie. And like there will still be more pieces to get added today and tomorrow before Tuesday.
Final.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of work, extremely expensive. And I think that it's way easier to regulate the tone of like a 9-minute project than like a 93-minute project. So like that was really interesting, because like Barry talked about how genre, a lot of genre blending happens for us at this time, and that's true. But that means that there's a lot of disparate elements that you got to like make cohesive, and then a lot of characters with unique tones and a lot of places with unique feelings. And so like, yeah, it's been quite a learning process figuring out how to service the story in that capacity. And yeah, like we picked titles for ourselves, but everybody's had their hands involved in a lot of things. So I think like the whole thing has just been a hell of a learning curve.
Yeah, definitely that. If nothing else, that for sure.
Well, I mean, that's kind of cool though. That small crew, everyone's sort of wearing a lot of different hats, and maybe, like you said, you're a little more tight knit. The communication gaps are fewer. Yeah. I mean, what would you say is one main takeaway that you hope viewers at the festival this year, whether they're catching it at an in-person screening like the one at MOA or via the virtual film festival? Like, what is one takeaway you hope viewers glean from their viewing of Feel So Good?
So takeaway, I feel like it's a little bit of a loaded word, just because, especially because most of the times people are like referencing like thematic takeaway, like, what moral lesson did you learn from the film and stuff. And I definitely am not precious about like themes and just like, messages, overt messages and stuff. So I would be much more pleased if people were able to go to the theater or go online and watch it on the online festival, and just be able to just give yourself over to the experience. Like, I think if you're able to, if you're able to, and the way I phrase it is just like, get on a raft, like a piece of wood, and just drift down this river that like the film is taking you on. Like, I think that is best case scenario for people who watch it. And that would make me the happiest too. Just see people sit back and just, give yourself over to the film. I think that's ideal. I don't have any specific like messages or things I would want people to take. Yeah. I have no clue what I would want them to take.
Don't get hypnotized.
Don't get hypnotized.
Classic note of death to the author sort of thing. You're just going to put it out there and say, "Hey, man, make your takeaway your own." It's up to you.
Absolutely. Art belongs to the consumer after it's created. So yeah, I fully believe that.
And we're all consumers. So we've talked at length about a million different thoughts and theories that we have about this project in particular and what it might be saying or might not be saying. But like, I agree. I think the best thing that can happen is just if you just let yourself get taken along with the experience. And if that can happen for you, then like,
fantastic.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You guys got any messages? Any themes?
Grayson, what do you want them to take away from your performance?
From my performance?
Yeah.
Very little.
Enjoy it, I think. The one thing I wouldn't say necessarily based on the film as a takeaway, but just get used to knowing these names. I think that we're really hungry artists. And
like that.
We're really just getting started. So.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's a perfectly put.
Well, awesome. That's great to hear. I guess the most important question I'm going to ask you guys today, having not seen the film yet myself, am I going to walk away saying, wow, pro hypnotism, or am I going to say, holy cow, I never want to see a hypnotist or be hypnotized? I mean, where's the movie come down on hypnotism? I mean, come on.
I don't know how to answer that question. I think you will.
You're going to say, I got to start practicing. You're going to be like, okay, yeah, I should have taken that more seriously. That's what you'll walk away.
Or you'll be afraid of people snapping.
You'll flip.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks for rolling with my bad jokes. That's good stuff. So, of course, the film is going to be having its world premiere at the dCFF 2021 Film Festival. It'll be available virtually after the film has an in-person premiere at MOA. But for listeners out there who maybe can't catch it at the premiere, or maybe they're not able to make the dCFF 2021 Film Festival, where can listeners keep up with you all's work or more developments related to the future release of Feel So Good online?
Yeah, to keep up with us, like we're all, like you said, Sly said earlier, we're part of a collective called Bad Faith. So all socials, Bad Faith BF, just Bad Faith BF on Instagram, on Twitter, our website, badfaithbf.com. And then you'll find you will find us immediately once you find the page, because we're all over it. But that's where we centralize all of our information. And the film is one just like arm of the collective. Like we have, like I said, a music division that's probably a lot bigger than our film. And so just follow along. I think if you have like inclinations towards the stuff, so if you watch Feel So Good and you end up liking it, check out Bad Faith. I promise you, we're gonna have other stuff out there that you'll like, and we'll be back with more movies soon too. So just don't even trip. Yeah,
you might even hear a song in the movie early or something.
That's true.
You go listen to the Bad Faith stuff. You might, there's some stuff in there.
Awesome. Well, before we close out the conversation, guys, is there anything else you'd like to add about Feel So Good for our listeners today?
Come to the Friday screening, man. I don't know if they'll be hearing this after or not. Either way.
Yep.
Okay, right. Watch it online. Watch it online. Tell your friends to watch it online. Buy your friends some tickets. Be good people.
And follow us, because like if you miss it this time, like we're the next few months we got some other festivals to hit too.
Absolutely.
So like a dCFF is where we want you to watch it. But if for whatever reason that can't happen, and you a square, then just follow up.
There'll be more. There'll be more.
Well, fantastic. Gentlemen, again, congratulations on getting Feel So Good in the festival and having your world premiere at an in-person event at the Oklahoma Museum of Art. Barry, Ben, Slyrex, Grayson, thank you all so much for joining us on the Cinematic Schematic today.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Fantastic conversation. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
And listeners, if you want to watch Feel So Good at the dCFF 2021 Film Festival, as we all so highly recommend, dCFF pass holders can catch it at the Oklahoma Museum of Art on Friday, June 11th at MOA at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. It will also be available again as part of the virtual festival starting on Saturday, June 12th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time until the festival's conclusion on Sunday, June 20th at 11:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you haven't already, I don't know what you're waiting for. You can head on over to deadcenterfilm.org to buy a pass. So not only can you catch Feel So Good, but you can catch a number of other wonderful films, hundreds of other films, in fact. And for more thoughtful conversations that excite, inspire, and connect filmmakers and film enthusiasts across the state of Oklahoma, you can subscribe to the Cinematic Schematic via your preferred podcast app, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever your podcasts are found. You can also head on over to deadcenterfilm.org for more information on Feel So Good, along with all of the other wonderful films playing at the festival this year. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you again next time.